Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm in my messy office tonight just because it's too hot to be pretty much anywhere else. Also, we've got Ron Cleaveland back tonight. Some of you may recall that it was pretty much a year ago to the day that I had Ron on the old CNC with Dave show. And he enlightened me a little bit about 3D printing. So I wanted to have him back a year later, and we can talk about what kind of changes have been happening with 3D printing in general, what kind of changes has happened on his end. And you can pretty much see behind me what changes have happened here. So anyway, we'll get started talking with Ron here. Hobbies with me tonight. He's also kind of jumping on the 3D printing bandwagon here. He dug out his what is it? The monoprice. There we go. And I know that I don't know whether some of these folks were just waiting for me to finally break down and get a 3D printer or what, but I know that several people have purchased them. I do want to thank all the folks that, when I've done those review videos and unboxing videos for both the CR10 and the Ender 3, I've had some affiliate links with GearBest and Banggood.com and Amazon as well. So I appreciate anybody that's used those affiliate links to make their purchase. Gives me a little kickback and helps me to keep this YouTube channel going. So I appreciate that. And I got Filament I got to buy, so I got to. You see all those boxes right, wherever it is, right there. A Filament I bought so far. But anyway, welcome back.
You have nothing.
Well, yeah. Welcome back, Ron. It's good to have you back on the show. So tell us what's been going on the past year since you were on the last time.
Well, I think reality has basically happened in the last year. They took off pretty big last year with the CR10, which I probably got a month or two after the last show. As you can see right here, I actually put mine in enclosure because I want to be able to do ABS with it. And it actually is highly modified. I don't know if you can actually see how modified it is from there, but I've had the main board die in the controller, had to replace it. I've learned how to configure the firmware, and it's also on running on a Raspberry Pi OctoPrint. Over here is the Ender 3. And over there is the old Cutie. And if we go a little bit over here, I think you can see it. I got the Ender 2.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, and it just finished up with its print, so I'll turn it off so I have that much noise.
When you were on the show last year, you had two of the Cuties, right?
Yeah, I have another one. I ran out of room. It's sitting on the floor behind here. Okay, yeah. Normally the Ender 3 isn't sitting here, and the Ender 2 is not sitting here. The Ender 3 actually, I had the office buy it for some small projects I'm doing there, and the Ender 2 I usually keep upstairs in my TV room. It's only has like a 6-inch by 6-inch platform. And so it does little things very well because it doesn't have a lot of mass in the moving table. It gets a lot less ringing and all the other little artifacts that you'll see on the bigger, like the CR10, because you got so much mass moving.
Yeah.
So when you're doing little stuff, it does an excellent job. It'll blow the CR10 away on similar sized objects. It just isn't as big.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if I can get them off of there, I just what I'm working on at the office is I'm working with nylon, and again, it's called Nylon X. It's carbon infused nylon. I'm sorry, carbon fiber infused nylon, and it's supposed to be about as strong as anything you can do. And that I'm doing these little spur gears in some of our machines that we've been having that are injected ABS that we've been having problems with stripping out.
Yeah. Now, what kind of temps do you have to use to run the nylon?
Nylon's about 260, about a 70-degree Fahrenheit or
Do you have to have
Celsius.
it enclosed or?
No, you do not, in fact. And, although I'm sure it could help. You don't even turn on, you know how you have the part cooling fan?
Yeah.
You don't even use that for it. You basically treat it like ABS. ABS doesn't you don't use part cooling on ABS either.
Okay.
Only PLA. And PETG, you can use a little bit of part cooling on. Javi's working.
I'm having fun tearing apart my. For those of you, I was telling Ron earlier, wondering what I'm doing. I bought a new V6 hot end, and
hothead.
yeah, I'm the hothead because I wasn't getting the perfect prints. So naturally, I just blame it on the hot end without even bothering to check my settings. But I'll deal with that later. Well, what happened was I got this from a friend, so I don't know how used it is, but it looked pretty gummed up. So I figure, let me start with something fresh. $15, and it. So I figure, what the heck?
Yeah. Well, I know, Ron, I have been having an absolute ball playing around with these. I don't always get great results, but to me, that's all part of the fun. You know, a lot of times when I'll post something, people will, and I know they're trying to be helpful, but I'm really not posting my failures to get advice because I like trying to figure out stuff myself. And a lot of times I know what I did wrong anyway. So once it fails, but been having a blast, printing a lot of different things, trying to print mostly usable things. You know, I'm trying to stay away from a lot of the what I call crap. I have printed my share of that, but I guess probably the
stuff like this.
Yeah, and that's another one that I do want to try, just because it really, you know, if you can do that, this
will test your printer.
yeah, and that's what I want to do. I want to.
Fantastic, yeah.
But I got a request the other day. I don't know if he's out there in the chat. I don't see him. But a gentleman that watches the show quite often sent me a message, and he sent me a picture of a little a fan that was off of some kind of a compressor. And he says, man, I've been trying to find this fan everywhere. I can't find it. You know, is this something you could 3D print? And, you know, he had a pretty decent picture. I said, yeah. I said, but, you know, if you tell me what some of the dimensions are and then let me draw it up, you know, I'll try to print it for you. And so he sent me back some dimensions. I did a 3D model. I created a drawing with dimensions and sent it to him. And he said, yeah, I think that'll work. So I went ahead and printed one, and it really came out pretty nice. It's nice. Got the if you can see that hole, it's got the D-shaped 5/8.
Yeah, that looks great.
Shaft, or the hole for the shaft. I'm a little concerned about, you know, I don't know whether these blades will come flying off at RPM. So I told him, you know, I sent him a picture of this, and he goes, yeah, that's great. Send it to me. I go, well, before I send this one to you, I want to try to run a couple of more out of some different materials, like some ABS and stuff. So I haven't had a chance to yet, but I want to take my probably my Ender 3 out to the garage where it's always hot now, and also take some cardboard and just kind of throw together a little makeshift box and try to run some ABS. And now you got me wanting to try that nylon.
The nylon is pricey. It's like $50 a kilo.
Okay.
Ron, have you ever tried the wood stuff?
Funny you should ask. Where did I put it? I do have a simulated wood that was on sale on Amazon for $12. It's cool. And it actually has a very wood feel to it, to the filament and stuff.
Right.
And it's the right color. I'd have to dig it out to show it to you, but yeah, I have recently played with that.
Well, that kind of leads me to another question. You said it was $12. Some people have been telling me that not all filament is the same, and there's some really poor quality PLA. Let's talk about PLA.
There are some that are not as good as others. That is true. When it comes to PLA, say from Amazon, you know, you kind of look at some of the rate, you know, how other people have rated it and stuff, but it's not like it was 3 or 4 years ago when you could really get some bad PLA. It's a little bit better quality now, most of it. At least it's usable. Let's put it that way. Now you know, you're having trouble with, you had trouble with yours jamming on you, clogging the nozzle. Mine,
it seems like this is, for example, one of the let me see if I can get it to, I don't know if it's focused or not. Yeah, there you go. Let me see. But
it's probably under extruding. Okay.
It's there you go. So I mean, this I've attempted this a few times, and that one I sliced myself. This one was that came with the it was the little cat that came with the G code came on the it's the test G code that came with the machine, but I mean it's also,
I don't know, is that the decapitated cat?
the decapitated cat. It's not so much, it's good luck for me, but not for the cat.
Yeah.
Well, there's, as you can see, the layers are just, I'm getting layer separation. I'm getting from what I see when it's happening, the machine's moving, but the plastic's not flowing.
Oh, okay.
So I'm thinking my first guess, and this is a complete newbie guess because I have no idea of any of this. My guess is that the thermistor might be messed up, or this head is just so clogged. But I push it through before I start. It heats up. I push it through, and it. I mean, Dave saw it.
Did you happen to look at usually the display will show you your current temperatures?
Yes, and I tried 190. I tried 205, and I tried 215.
205 should be adequate. And 190, in my opinion, is a little low.
Right. It is 215 I've tried as well, and this is. But
what I'm at, what I was wondering is your machine maintaining that temperature?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm concerned with. One time I actually took these just anything I had handy to block airflow from the sides.
Well, the airflow shouldn't be that big a deal. It should be able to maintain the hot end temperature because the heating element is inside the block, the hot end block there.
Got it.
And it should be able to maintain that heat there. But you don't want it fluctuating too much.
I notice when I push it through, every now and then it will stop. And then all of a sudden it'll flow real well, and then it'll stop. I mean, just when I take random times, and the temperature shows 205 each time.
Okay. What did the old nozzle look like?
The old nozzle.
I mean, did it look, when you took it off, did it look clogged up?
When I took it off, I got to heat it up again to take it off, but it did not look clogged up. I mean, that's a good question, because I don't know what clogged up looks like.
Well,
There
when we
was a
were in
good
that hangout the other
solid-
day, Javi, you
I'm
know, and
sorry?
you put it back on and you pushed it through, it looked like you had a good stream coming out of there.
Yeah.
I don't think it was.
It was a good solid. It was 0.4 millimeters, but it was a good solid flow coming through. I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
But
You made spaghetti.
I made a lot of spaghetti. I have yet to have one good piece. So I was going to show you
this. Of the when you do a nozzle, when you take a nozzle out, especially, you need to hot end up to temperature.
Yes, I learned that the hard way when I'm going, why doesn't this come off?
Yes.
And then they told me you got to do it hot, and I go, oh well, and then it twisted right off.
Now
burned myself, but it twisted right off.
You probably, if you got a Creality like Dave has and stuff, you've probably seen the little acupuncture needle in there, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one somewhere.
Well, the other option is a guitar string.
Ah, good to know.
I have a guitar. It lasts forever, and it's small enough to fit through a 0.4 nozzle, and does a very good job of cleaning it out.
Now, here's a question: if I'm pushing it through when it's hot and it's flowing well, does that mean could the nozzle still be clogged, or?
It can be. The plastic, when you first put it through, you're probably pushing it through with a little bit more force. And when it's just normally running, it just kind of gets clogged, kind of backed up in the nozzle, so to speak.
Right.
And will cause you a problem. The other thing that I recently learned can cause a problem is, where the bolted tube goes in the top?
Yes.
Okay, there's like a little fitting there that you got to lift up on and push down on.
Yes.
The tube. Okay, if that little fitting moves up and down while you're printing, that means the bolting tube is moving in and out of there, which is lifting it out of the away from the hot end, or the nozzle, I should say.
That's right. Yeah.
So they make and you can 3D print them. They make a little piece that slides in between there to keep it so it can't move.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing I highly recommend on PTFE is to see if I can find some here. Is the blue PTFE? It's better. It's works at a higher temperature.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Than the white will. It's a little better tolerance. It's called Capricorn.
Capricorn, got it.
Yeah, and I pretty much convert all my machines to this stuff because it's just more accurate and not the part that goes down into your hot end. After a while, if you pull it out, you'll notice the end of it is kind of mushroomed and stuff. That will affect your print.
Yeah, this one seems like it's in good condition.
That's the other thing that's very important. You want to make sure you cut it straight across, but don't squish the tube. You know what I mean?
Got it. Yep.
They actually make.
Do they make a tiny little?
They make a little guillotine thing.
Oddly enough, now that you pulled that out, I have a coaxial cable. One of those that cuts the outer sheath and the inner sheath of the coaxial cable. That's going to work perfect. I'm going to try that out.
So yes, you want to make sure you get it cut perfectly flat and don't crush the tube while doing it.
Good to know.
But I feel your pain. I have been through hot end problems more times than I want to count.
Well, it's. I was going to ask if any particular machine is not subject to these things, but Zach Manring from Southern Ginger has one of these, and he's printing a slew of, I don't know what he's printing, these things, and they're coming out perfect. And he doesn't have any of these issues whatsoever. So the only thing I could think of is that the modifications that were done prior to my owning this and the use that it's gotten, maybe it's just worn out the head. So that's the reason. That's the main reason I bought the new one.
Well, what was the nozzle? Was it the copper or brass? I mean, or was it stainless steel?
It's copper. It's
brass.
It's brass. It's brass.
That's the other thing. Going into, I was talking about the nylon with carbon fiber in it. Mm-hmm. You have to use a stainless steel nozzle.
Really?
With those. It will chew up a brass one. It's very abrasive.
Well, that might also be another issue. Yeah.
But if you you may just start with replacing the nozzle. If you're
I already got it half apart. What's a few more soldered that way? What's a few more soldered wires?
Surprisingly enough, my Ender 3 and my Ender 2 have not needed hot ends, but they're still stock. Yeah. The CR10 it also has E3D V6 hot end and all metal hot end.
Well, this has a this particular one's a V3. That's the other reason I bought it, is because I figure the V6 is better than the V3. I don't know, bigger number.
Yeah, V6. Basically, if you got it for $15, you got the clone.
Well, yeah.
So the E3D are from Europe, and they're more like $60.
Yeah, I've seen them for that price. Now now here's the question: is the clone any good, or does it fail, or?
It depends on who you ask and who you get it from.
Yeah.
Yes. It's all about how smooth the bore down the cold end is. If there's anything that would catch filament and stuff like that.
Right.
So, anybody have any questions?
Well, I have some. I was waiting for Javi to get wound down here.
I'm sorry, I'm good to go.
Obviously, since you and I both have a CR10 and an Ender 3, I've got some questions about those. First of all, I want to know if you're. I see both of them running. Are you still using the glass plate on your?
I have actually, yes. The Ender 2 uses a glass plate. It came with a glass plate, actually. Or no, that one I didn't. I added to it. And what I do is I get the, I don't know if this will work. I get these mirrors.
And
I cut them to size.
Okay. That's one thing I haven't done yet. I haven't tried the mirrors. I did. I found out that my glass for my CR10 had, a dip in the middle, and then I actually had a hump in the middle, and then I could turn it over, and then it had a dip in the middle. Not terribly bad. I could still, split the difference and get prints to come out okay, especially if there's something small, not anything real big. But I did buy a sheet of that PEI stuff, and I tried that for a while. And I've actually gone back to the glass. I'm running the glass back on the CR10.
It all depends on what filament you're printing and stuff. I have PO poly on the CR10 right now, and it works really well with PLA. Nothing else on it, and all it is a mirror with this material that has a 3M adhesive on the back stuck to it. I actually have several different build surfaces. I have regular mirror surface. I have, let's see if I can get it out here. Well, maybe not. There we go. I have, this is called Mammoth or something like that. And it's a, I'm not even sure what kind of surface this is. It works relatively well with PLA. Doesn't work with ABS at all.
Mm-hmm.
I've experimented with several different. I don't like the Build Tech surfaces that like the Ender 3 comes with, because yeah, it sticks great. It's just really hard to get the stuff unstuck.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Are you still running the stock Build Tech on the Ender 3?
No, on the Ender 3, I took it off.
Yeah,
and
I found that on when I run stuff on the Ender 3, I have to pretty much put at least a brim around it, if not a raft, to be able to get the darn stuff off without busting it.
Right. Now I have glass on my, this is the Ender 3 right here, and have glass on it, and I have a surface called Gecko Tech on it, and it's specifically works really well with nylon, but it seems to work pretty well with PLA as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, I've only done a couple prints on it, but it seems to work really well. I like the removable build plates.
Yeah.
Where when you're trying to pry it off of your thing, you're not messing up your level of your machine.
That's one thing I really liked about the PIE is you could just undo the binder clips and kind of flex it a little, and it just pop right off.
Right. Yeah. If you get those magnetic based ones, in fact, you can make your own. Get like a little, go to Home Depot or whatever, get the magnetic metal signs, and you cut them out to the shape of your bed, and then you put your surface on it, and put some magnets basically on your thing. You can have a flexible, and there's plenty of them that sell flexible build plates too, where you just kind of tweak it and it pops right off.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very good way to go, honestly.
Yeah. Another question I have for you, Ron, and I've seen on Facebook and stuff, comments going kind of both ways on this topic, but how do you store your filament? Do you put it in an airtight, like big Tupperware thing, or?
Interesting, you should ask. Now,
okay, I was wondering if that's what those were for.
These are individual. This will hold a spool perfectly. And I'm printing one right now. It has a base in here that goes down here that uses skateboard bearings for the filament to the spool to run on. And you just put a hole in here, and it just feeds right out of here. Nylon is very important you do that with, because nylon soaks up moisture almost instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And will not print well. Also, so what I do is I put it in there, seal it, and with desiccant. I get the rechargeable desiccant type where you put it in the oven, it'll bake the moisture out, and you can use it again. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look over, see if I can see it. See that white thing there?
Uh-huh.
That's a food dehydrator. And I put the nylon spool in there. I modified it so I could put a spool in it. And it just let it run for 12 hours or whatever to dry the filament out.
Had a question from Keith. Uh-huh. Is the material all the same diameter? Do you need different nozzles? Or I guess another question would be, why would you need different?
I mean, there's two different diameter filaments, 1.75, which today is the most common, and 3.0, which was less common now, but used to be very common, say 5 years ago. But 175 is what everybody uses now, and that's what you're going to see almost everywhere. As far as the nozzles, that different sizes is how thick of a line of plastic it will put down. So most nozzles, most of these Crealities and stuff come with a 0.4 nozzle, but you can buy 0.1, 0.2s, 0.3s, all the way up to 0.6s in a nozzle that will work with a Creality. The higher the number, the more coarse the layer of filament it's going to lay down. And then if you get into the E3D stuff, there's a thing called Volcano, which will put out like 0.8. It just really lays out the plastic. And that's for really, Dave, as you know, if you were to try to build something on that 12 by 12 inch build plate there, it would, and use the whole thing up to say a foot tall or whatever, it'd take a week to print it at normal print settings. So that's where you would go to these higher nozzle sizes to make it print fast, basically faster, but it's going to be more coarse.
Ron, another question I want to ask, and I can show you something I was making here. I'm running the CR10 is running the other half of it now. I've already ran the first half earlier today. And this one actually started messing up, but I went ahead and just let it run. But this is a gauge where you, like when you're running a bowl on a lathe, you can calipers, to check the wall thickness. And you can see this has got little tick marks for I don't know if they're exactly, it looks like it might be an inch or so on there.
So but the two halves work together.
Yeah. And anyway, as you can see, it started lifting up right here. And the way this thing is, because it's fairly good size, it was kind of running diagonal with this towards the back left corner of my plate. And I don't know if I just didn't catch that part of the build plate with the Aquanet, or maybe it wouldn't have held even if I had it, because I noticed when it got done, I put my finger back there, and on the edges of the build plate don't get as hot as right in the center. So I don't know. I'm going to try to rerun this one again, maybe scoot it forward a little bit, and then make sure I get enough Aquanet.
What was your build plate temperature?
60.
60. You might try 70 just to see if it makes a difference.
Okay.
I wouldn't go any higher than that. But also, yeah, make sure you got your, if you're using Aquanet, you make sure you get a good coating down there. The rule of thumb with Aquanet is you spray it on an even layer over the whole plate, and it's kind of like a frosted window. When you first lay it down, it disappears as it heats up.
Yeah.
It clears out. But when you first lay it down, it'll look like a frosted window. And that's how you know you have enough on there.
Yeah.
But that's also a pretty thin piece. I don't know how thick that end is, but that can also contribute.
Yeah, it's probably, well, let's see. I got calipers right here. Had it ran correctly on the other part, it's, well, I put my glasses on so I can see. Yeah, it's about 150 thousandths. So, but it started peeling up, and you can even see some layer separation even back to here. But the rest of it, worked fine. And of course, the other half doesn't have that, so it seems to be working fine. In fact, it looks like it's getting close to being done.
Yeah, I was pulling these little spur. I forgot I left the ones I had done at the office, so I had to print out some. And I've been printing these on rafts just because Gives it a little bit more surface, but I want to see if you can see that. Is that focusing?
Yeah.
That's the bearing goes down in the center of that. And this is the motor gear.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully they mesh just just right. So
yeah. Now, have you found when you're doing gears or something like that where you have an inside diameter that do you have to oversize it to allow for some shrinkage?
there's gonna it depends on the plastic, of course. ABS has a significant amount of shrink to it. PLA not as much. Nylon's probably going to have a little shrink to it as well. So yeah, it's one of those things you design, you try printing it, and then you see how close you are, and then make adjustments from there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I always, in this case, these gears are just PLA because they're just samples, and I'm not going to waste that expensive filament on just trying. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I'm trying to get more into the nylons and stuff to make stuff that the company that makes Nylon X, they show the skateboard trucks, the underside made out of this Nylon X and withstanding the pressures of a skateboard.
Mm-hmm.
So it's supposedly pretty strong stuff. We'll see if it's that strong or not, but I'm hoping it is.
Jeff Connor's out there in the chat. He's got a question for you, Ron. He says, my CR10 has bad vibration when trying to move. Sometimes it doesn't move and vibrates. Any suggestions? Is that all the axis, Jeff, or just a certain, the X or the Y, or which one are we talking about? We'll give him a minute to reply there.
Did he freeze up there? Oh, there you are.
No, Jeff had asked a question, but he says the Y-axis. So, we've lost Ron's audio now. Somehow.
That darn mute button.
Am I back?
There you go.
There you go.
Must have hit the mute button. Sorry. If you look at the Y-axis on the back side of it, that's the part with the hot end on it and the fan. You'll have three wheels back there. The one wheel has an eccentric on it, and you need to snug that so there's no side up. It's hard to explain, but no movement other than back and forth. You shouldn't have any movement up and down or front to back or anything like that. That's the same with the Y-axis. On the CR10, you have three wheels underneath there, one with the eccentric on it and two on the other side. And that eccentric is what you tension those with. Now, the Ender 3 has four, Dave. But it has two of the wheels on one side have the eccentric adjuster on it, and the two are fixed.
Yeah, if your bed is vibrating, that's what it sounds to me. You just need to adjust those wheels under there and get, like you said, you should be able to take your fingers and turn the wheel and it moves the bed.
Right. But you shouldn't be able to move the hot end any direction other than back and forth on the Y-axis.
Right, right.
There shouldn't be any movement front to back or up and down or any of that. And that, if that's not adjusted correctly, you will get it basically sticking in a certain positions. The other thing to look at, the Y-axis arm, you have also adjustments on that where it goes up, the Z goes up. you have the exact same idea. You got two independent wheels with one eccentric on the third wheel to adjust the tension. You don't want it too tight. You just want it enough to be able to move it up and down easily. If you're getting any artifacts on your prints and stuff, that's the first place to look. Those things, they get loose fairly easily.
Yeah. Keith Allen has a question. He says, what tolerance can these machines hold? Plus or minus 2 thou?
They advertise 100 microns, I believe, 0.1.
Wow.
There are some more expensive ones that'll do 50 microns. So you'd be surprised. I don't know if I have anything that has a super lot of detail. This kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's holding a good tolerance when you make a bolt and a nut and they just unscrew, And it's printed as
there's a little friction there, but not very much. And actually, I've made these. I don't know if you can see it. I've made that one for my ender. I like to have a little bit more so the spool doesn't slop around on there.
Mm-hmm.
So I make these little bigger ones.
Now, Ron, I want to ask you, especially since you have several different machines, but when I first started, trying to learn about 3D printing and watching YouTube videos and this, they always stress how important it is to get the bed level and, to use the piece of paper and do the 4 corners and then do the center and stuff like that.
Right.
But I've kind of I still use the paper to somewhat level the bed, but then I've kind of changed my theory on that because like I said, my plate seems to have a little bit of a dip. So if I do it out on the 4 corners and get, the nice little tug on the paper, and then I move it to the center, it will be easier right there. So I found that I kind of level the bed based on how big my project is. If I'm going to be printing like something like this, it's not very big and it's right in the center of the bed, I try to do 4 places, but basically staying in the center of the bed. And you know what I'm saying, to try to mm-hmm. split the difference, because of having my, I know from, this is just my sheet metal background talking here, but all of these pretty much have what looks like about a 3 millimeter aluminum bed on these things. Well, it just seems to me, what I know from aluminum, that if you're heating that and cooling it and heating it and cooling it, after a while that thing's going to get some warp to it, I would think.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the aluminum holds up pretty well. I don't know how they were able to ship warped glass. I've never heard of such a thing until.
Well, I know it seems like everybody that gets a CR10 has that issue. They have to pick the better of the 2 sides and use that.
That's what makes mirrors such a good thing. If a mirror has a warp in it,
yeah, you can see
it's gonna be like a funhouse mirror.
Right.
So, and you can get Home Depot sells 6-pack of those 12 by 12 mirrors for $10.
Yeah.
So
that's probably what I'm going to try. Like I said, the PEI sheet works pretty good sometimes. The glass I've had pretty good luck with,
mm-hmm.
as long as I'm using the Aquanet. But I would like to try something else on my Ender 3 and instead of that build text.
Yeah, I have took off the old stuff because my build plate with their build tack surface on it had a hollow in the center of it. It was not, you could, like you were saying, you could level the corner, get the corners just right, but then go to the center and it'd be completely off.
Yeah.
And that's where, of course, you're starting your print and everything.
And another thing I've started doing too, like I said, I check with a piece of paper kind of based on what size project I'm going to do. But then I also tell it to do about a skirt with like 10 lines. And that way I have plenty of time to watch that skirt lay down, and you can feel it with your finger and see if it's really, you know what I mean? You can tell whether it's too squished or not squished enough or whatever. So you can kind of give yourself where if it's doing those 10 lines on your skirt, you can actually adjust a little on the fly if you see a spot where it's squished too much.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of a fine art. By the way, you're locked on me. It's kind of a fine art. You want a little squish, but not too much squish.
Right. Okay. Okay. There we go.
And it's one of those things you learn with time. I've actually converted the CR10 and the Ender 2 to self-leveling. They have I don't know if you've looked into that or not, but it has the little, they both use different methods, but they have it goes through and creates a mesh of the build plate by probing it. In this case, CR10 about, what is it, 4, 8, 12, 16 times. It's 16 over the whole plate. It creates a mesh, so it knows exactly where even if you don't have it perfectly level, it compensates for it.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
You basically start your print and it just goes through and probes the whole thing and then starts printing.
Okay, I'm looking over here in the chat. We got a question from John Smith. He says, do you have to remove the stock cover before using a glass plate? I guess he's talking about the Ender 3, the
build tech stuff.
Now, did that just peel off?
You heat it up, you turn your build plate on, get it up to as hot as it'll go. With the Ender 3, which is, since it's a 24-volt power supply, will get to 110 degrees Celsius. So you just get it as hot as it'll go, basically. And with a putty knife, it'll peel right off. And then a little alcohol cleans it off, and it's good to go.
Okay.
All right. So this build tack is a stuck-on cover.
It is.
Ah. Yeah.
They usually use most all the different surfaces available. Use a 3M adhesive on the back of it.
Got it. So you crank it all the way up and then carefully peel it off, and then the glass. So the glass basically goes in place of it, and it comes with notches, or you buy it with notches, especially for it.
What do you mean notches?
Well, I'm sorry. Mine has the adjustment leveling screws on the corners.
Oh, okay. You might have to trim it to fit.
Yep. Okay. Cool.
And you more like, how do you yeah.
How do I level it? I use a business card on each corner, and I move it to each corner. I use a business card and refine it until there's slight resistance.
With PLA, I go a little bit thinner than business card. I use regular paper. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Just a little bit thinner than a business card.
Because that's what I
subjective.
Yeah, that's what I had it at, and it was creating such a thin line that I could never take it off. That's build tack.
You mean you were having trouble removing it?
Well, not only that, it was just so thin that half the time they wouldn't even appear. Again, that was probably the head issue.
Right.
That I have. Yeah.
The build tack is, once it cools off, is difficult sometimes to get an object off, depending how big a surface it is, that's on there. the bigger the surface, the tougher it is. And that's why I like the removable build plates, because you can kind of take them off, take them over to the bench and kind of pound on them a little bit.
Yeah.
More than you can where it's hooked to your machine and you're,
Yeah,
potentially bending something.
Yeah, I found it fascinating when you were talking about the glass and dropping it in the freezer and the
that
stuff
works great.
pops right off.
Yeah, depends on the glass. Yes, for sure. Especially with the Aquanet, you put it in the freezer for a little bit, and it just falls off. I mean, now I've noticed on some of my surfaces here with PLA, not the build tack that I use, once they cool off, they're basically loose, so you don't have to do anything to get them off. You just lift them up and you're done. I was going to say, somebody was asking about the guitar string, what size. I was looking to where I bought it from Amazon. It's just plain steel guitar string, 0.010 inches. Or I don't know if that's inch or millimeter. It doesn't say, but
yeah, it's probably 10 thousandths.
So it's 10 thousandths, so small enough to fit in a 0.4 nozzle. The needles, they've been acupuncture needles, they've been shipping for the last year or so. That's kind of a new thing. They didn't have those back when I first started 3D printing. So
it's a 0.0010, a 10 thou is 0.254 millimeters.
I want to say it doesn't call it out here, but
so
yeah,
just slightly thinner. So that's the perfect size. Yeah,
it's I want to say it was an E string, but it doesn't say here. It's been a while since. A roll of this stuff will last forever.
Yeah.
I bought it. How long ago did I buy this? Over 2 years ago. So the other thing I have, like the hot end, the aluminum block and stuff, if you get those all coated and the nozzles all coated in plastic, because I have a little torch that I'll go through and I'll heat it up and literally burn the plastic off.
Well, let me ask you something, because I should be around here somewhere. It came with this thing, and I've seen the silicone socks. Yeah, are they worth it, or are they?
They are the best way to go right now.
Really?
Before, the old system was using these. What were these made of? I can get it out. You've probably seen the. I don't know if you can see these. There's thermal tape on one side, and it's like an insulator, and basically you wrap it around and use that yellow thermal tape.
Oh yeah, I've seen
to hold
some
it to
YouTube
the block.
videos on that. Right.
So the socks are the way to go. They're so much cleaner and longer lasting.
Ah, good.
Yes, I have bags full of socks.
Ron, I want you to, before we get out of here, I want you to talk about your enclosure a little bit on that.
Oh, sure.
CR10. That thing is just awesome looking. Is that something you made, or is that a kit that you bought? Or
I made it. It's pretty simple. I've been doing a lot of acrylic engraving with the CNC, and so
Huh? I said, "Oh, you have a CNC, do you?"
Yeah, I have a CNC too. As you can see, I even used it to give them the enclosure a name. I actually used it to perfectly cut out the doors and everything too.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I bought 1/8 inch acrylic.
Aluminum angle in the corners,
and just 3/4 aluminum angle in the corners.
Okay.
And on the bottom, I just used some plywood and 1x to make a base for it. And I slotted it so the plastic actually sits down into the base.
Oh.
Okay. And I have doors in the front. I kind of wish I'd made these bigger. And then I have, and you can't really see it, but I got a really big door. I decided after I did it, I needed a bigger door in the back because I needed more access.
Mm-hmm.
So I have almost a full size door in the back side of it as well. I also designed it so the top will come off, just lifts off. Actually, the whole thing will, if I need to really get to the printer, the whole box will lift off. It's not, nothing special about it. As you can see, I've added the LEDs to the, I don't know if you've seen that on others, the LEDs to the uprights
Mm-hmm.
on the inside to give it some light. Let me show you something. If I can get to it here. Now, I have this running on OctoPrint right now. And let me see if I can remember. How do I, it's been a while, get it to show my screen?
The
yeah,
blue,
screen share.
up on
Screen
the
share?
left. Yeah, up on the left.
Okay, I see it. Screen share. And we're going to click on share. Okay, now I need to, where'd you go? Seeing you twice. Okay, this is the interface for OctoPrint. You actually literally just drop your file you're going to print right here. And it tells you what you're doing, how far along you are and stuff. But you can also, let me enlarge that, have a webcam. You see that?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Now you can even set this up to record this. Well, it's all built into OctoPrint. And it's just a simple $20 webcam. You can see I actually, my cooling part here are, I have two of them. I've modified mine quite a bit. And you can kind of see over here on the right, the little red thing sticking out. That's the leveling probe.
Okay.
Right there.
Yeah.
And so that's basically what OctoPrint looks like. You have total control. I mean, you can do your bed leveling. You can control X, Y, and Z from here. You can go have terminal level where you can actually give it commands to do different things. Like I did earlier today, a PID, and that is through Marlin. You can actually calibrate your hot end, so it's very, more accurate. As you can see here, these are actual monitoring the actual temperature all along the print. Stays pretty close. My build plate is not been calibrated. It's a little bit more out of tolerance. Not that it makes a lot of difference, but all right. But I have two of my printers on OctoPrint now. The one that's going to the office also has a Raspberry Pi on it, and it's also going to be, it's just so much easier to load and from a web interface without having to mess with the SD card and all that.
Yeah, that's one thing I wasn't real keen on at all is fooling around with those little bitty micro SDs. And I bought the little extension cable that's got the micro SD where you can plug it into the slot.
Yeah, that's actually right what I have on this Ender 3 right now.
Yeah, it's so much easier to or at least I like the bigger ones better than the. And did you notice too that I don't know, I've heard it on several. I don't know if yours had it, but on the Ender 3, when you go to put that little micro SD card in, there's a gap above that, and if you're not careful, you can push it in there.
Have you done that?
Only twice.
only
That's why I
twice.
bought that cable.
There's actually somebody has designed on Thingiverse. Somebody's designed a thing to put in there to prevent that. By the way.
Yeah. Well, actually, I took a piece of Scotch tape and
Yeah,
covered the top
that'll work
of the
too.
hole. And then I thought, well, I'm gonna, because I'd already bought one of those cables for my CR10. Because, like I said, I just would much rather have a little more to hold on to than that little bitty micro SD card. So I just bought another one and put it on the ender. Got another question out there from Jeff Connor. He says, question for Ron. I just removed the belt from the bed. The bed moves easily by hand. I tried to move the stepper motor with the controller, and it had bad vibrations in either directions. Any suggestions?
On the okay, when it's hooked to the stepper motor, and this is the X, right?
Well, I think he said it was the Y, the one that moves the
Y
back and forth. I'm just wondering, have you checked your coupler, Jeff, to make sure that it's secure on the?
Okay, the CR10, the Y, yeah, you want to make the belt pretty tight, not super tight, and also make sure your pulleys are also not slipping.
Pulleys as well.
And like your Ender 3 it's very similar to CR10 back there. Had gotten bent. You said when you got
it was.
You want to make sure it's right. You know, the belt's running straight through rather than running off the side of the gear or two. You should be able to adjust it in the back. I actually have an adjustment knob on the front of my CR10. You can kind of see it there, right there, to tighten the belt.
Yep.
And but yeah, if it runs smooth without the belt on there, that means it's probably not the rollers. That something, either it's not running true on the bearings front to back, or something's hanging up the motor. It's possible the motor could be bad, but that's pretty unusual.
Yeah. Everybody's wanting to know where you got your Raspberry Pi.
I probably mostly have found them on sale, and because you can get the Raspberry Pi 3, the latest version, for I think $35.
Yeah, I just recently
including on Amazon. I bought some on there. I have 1, 2, 3, 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, I bought the Raspberry Pi 3, but it was the starter kit that comes with some of the extra stuff, you know. And I think it was only like $60 or $65 on.
Yeah, well, when you get one, you're gonna need a power supply. I believe it's 5 or 6 volts, and at least 1 amp.
The case, a little plastic case, and I forget what all. A couple of cables.
I wasn't too worried about the case since I print my own.
Yeah.
But the one over there, you can kind of see the yellow right in front of the spool sticking out. That's the Raspberry Pi. Let's see.
Oh here. Yeah.
Sitting right there, running that machine right there. Obviously a printed case. This one over here, the Ender 2, I've actually modified it quite a bit. I redone the whole control box, and the Raspberry Pi is part of the whole control now. It's actually right there.
Oh, okay, that looks good. I really like your legs on your box on your CR10 too. Those are nice.
Well, if you notice, the cooling fan for the power supply is on the bottom.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure it had enough cooling. So I saw somebody had designed those, and so I just printed them out and
I tell you,
set it on there.
It's hard to think of something that's not on Thingiverse.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll look at something somebody else has done and design it myself. because it might be a little different than what I want. But I don't always have the imagination as some of them, some people have on there.
Yeah.
And so I need a kind of a kickstart to see what other people are doing. If somebody else has done it and I just want it to print it, I'm just going to print it. It's, you know, instead of trying to design it myself. You know, but those feet, like I said, the feet on the bottom of that box aren't very tall. And I just wanted to give it a little bit more clearance for cooling. The other thing I've added to this, Dave, is what they call a AC heat bed. The heat bed runs off 110 volts.
Oh, so yeah.
And it heats up to it heats up to 70 degrees Celsius in 2 minutes.
That's quick.
Yeah.
That's one thing I noticed when I got the Ender 3, that it heats up quite a bit faster than my CR10. That's
the advantage of having a 24 volt power supply over the 12 volt that the CR10 has.
Right. Yeah.
They really, I don't know why they've came out with different iterations. It's even worse when you get to the bigger CR10s with the bigger build plates.
Oh yeah, I bet you it really takes a long time with those big.
Well, and they don't even get the whole build plate heated. They don't have the heat part of it is not as big as the build plate is.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's now if you were to try to do ABS with your CR10, you probably wouldn't be able to. I tried to get mine to go to 105 degrees Celsius, and the best it would do is 90. It'd get to 90 and time out.
Yeah.
Would you ever have an occasion to need something that hot as the build plate?
ABS.
For ABS. Gotcha.
Yeah. ABS requires about 105 to 110 degrees Celsius build plate. ABS
what's the max you would use badly for PLA?
Anywhere from 0 to 70.
0. Oh, that's good.
There are instances you can't print PLA with no
with no
build plate temp. There are some cheaper printers that don't have a heated build plate. But for the most part, I set mine at 60.
And PLA 205 usually?
Yeah, look at it can vary a little bit, but most manufacturers put on the spool the range of temperatures they recommend.
Yeah, 200 to 220 is this one.
Yeah, I've seen 190 to 220. So I usually run. Sometimes I even do the first layer a little hot, like say 210.
Right.
Now I don't use Cura. When I first got into 3D printing, Cura was pretty basic. So Dave, you probably have heard of Simplify 3D by now.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So I have a copy of Simplify 3D. It's costs money, but so that's what I still use, and it allows you to adjust your cooling fan speeds depending on the layer you're on. So I'll start it with no cooling and a little bit hotter on the first layer, and then kick it up 25% on the cooling fan on the second layer, and maybe drop the temp of the hot end maybe 5 degrees or something like that, and just build it up until it's about 100% cooling fan by layer 5 or something like that.
Yeah, now, I don't know if Cura can do that. I know I set my first layer temp for the nozzle at 210, and the fan doesn't run on the first layer.
Yeah,
so
it's probably you don't want to run your fan on the first layer because it makes it really difficult for it to stick.
Yeah.
And that's why they probably just do that by default.
Yeah. I haven't dug into it. I don't know if there's a way to do it as like you were talking up to about the 5th layer. It'd be nice if it would, but since Cura is free, it may not do that.
Yeah. Well, they have come a long way. They are I was looking at it over the last couple of weeks, and because it may be what I have to use at work, and they've come a long way from where they were when I first started 3D printing. Cura has really advanced a lot to where it's quite usable. Simplify 3D, when I first started though, when I switched to that, it was just like night and day. It was like the free stuff would work kinda, but I switched over to the Simplify 3D and it printed perfect first time.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people on YouTube say that very thing, that they were using the free stuff Cura and then went to Simplify 3D and it was well worth the $150 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and you can use it on as many machines. You set up profiles, and you can use it on as many machines as you want. And they've upgraded it several times since I originally bought it. So,
All right. Do we have any other questions? Okay, Neil Shafto says, "What is the cost of OctoPrint?"
OctoPrint itself is free. It's a free download, and they ask that you donate, but it's shareware, I guess you could call it. And there's on YouTube, the guy I used is called Joe Mike on YouTube, has a very good series on how to configure it and set it up. It's basically Linux, and but not that difficult to configure. I see Neil also asked about firmware, and I have flashed firmware on all three Crealities. I have. You have to.
That brings up another question for me then. On your most recent, or any of them for that matter, but I know you've had the other two. For your Ender 3, you've had just for a little while, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a few weeks.
Did it have the thermal runaway disabled?
It did. All Crealities do.
Okay.
And it is highly recommended that you learn how to configure Marlin to turn it on.
Yeah, well, that's something I've got to do. However, I don't run these things and hop in the car and go to the store or something. I'm always right here. I'm not right here in this room, and I've even gone to bed and let them run overnight. But I have two dogs here that I'm sure would wake me up if there was a big fire or something.
Well,
so
I have smoke detectors down here and everything else. But yes, that is something I have. Well, to do like the auto leveling and stuff like that, you have to be able to get in and edit the firmware Marlin. They don't really make it easy on the Creality. Are we done? They don't make it easy on the Creality. You have to get in there and use a special card to load a bootloader on it, and then you can hook it up to your and download, redo your Marlin firmware. But once you've done it, it's not too terrible. The runaway thing is one thing I do turn on. I obviously do the self-leveling settings and stuff. Also, I do recommend that if you get a Creality, and this is what is actually, Creality doesn't turn it on either, but ANET and some of these others are even worse about how they configure the because the firmware comes to them with the runaway thing turned on. When they get it from the people that make it, Marlin, the designers, it is actually by default on. They actually are turning it off.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing it so they won't inconvenience their customers, because what it does is it looks for, has the temperature changed in this amount of time, kind of thing. If it doesn't, then it'll shut itself off. And I have actually had it go off on mine. That was one of the problems I had with my CR10. The hot end, the little cartridge that's in there, failed.
Yeah.
what people have had trouble with is if they don't check the screw where it holds it in the block there, that cartridge falls out
So
and starts
register.
runs against the plastic and stuff and starts a fire.
Yeah.
So
Let's see. Yeah.
if you ever want to get into the firmware, you let me know. I think I can probably help you.
Yeah, I'll probably have to pick your brain on that. We have a couple more quick questions here, and then we'll let you go, Ron. Let's see. Allmore Miller wants to know, do you have a battery backup?
I do. Not everything is hooked to it. The CR10 is right now, but fortunately, I have not had. I can't tell you how long it would run if the printer was running, because I've never had the power go out while I was printing.
Yeah, well, from what I've heard, a lot of those battery backup things are maybe good for what, 30 minutes or something. So
yeah, it's all dependent on the size.
On fairly quick, you could save the print, but if it's out for a while, you're probably screwed anyway.
Yeah, as far as the electric bill, I don't know about you, Dave, but I haven't noticed a huge change in it.
I have not either. Of course, I don't have near as many as you, but
mine aren't running 24/7 or anything like that. In fact, it's I don't usually have this many running at a time.
See any other questions in there? I'm kind of scanning up. Let's see.
Yeah, OctoPrint is free. The Raspberry Pi is like, if you get the kit, it's like $60.
Okay. Let's see. I don't think we pretty much covered all of them. Ron, I want to thank you again for coming on here. It's even more fun talking with you now that I know a little something, not much, but I am having a ball with these things, and I know, like I said, right after I started doing it, some other folks kind of jumped on the bandwagon, and Jerry Brown's got one ordered, and let's see, Sean Martyrs, I think he's bought a couple of them, and
I pulled mine out of mothballs.
Yeah, you pulled out and knocked the dust off of yours, and
just to get
a lot of people, but it's
just to get frustrated.
Yeah. It's funny because
it's fun. I rewired it.
One thing I really like, well, there's a lot of things I really like about this is, but for one, I can sit right here where I'm at my desktop. These are just a few feet behind me. And even when I have both of them running, it's not like a CNC router. I can sit here and work and concentrate.
Yes.
It's not that, god awful screaming of the router and
exactly. That's why I like doing the engraving with the acrylic and stuff, because on the CNC you don't have that motor running and the vacuum running and everything else. You just got it there. It's a little bit noisier than a 3D printer, but not much.
Yeah, that's
I was going to show you some of the one of the other things I've designed. It's a couple different. This is for my little signs, and I'll have to grab one just a second. So this is for the base for my lighted signs that I 3D printed.
Ooh.
The LED strip will go down in the slot here. I have a power plug built into one of the legs.
Wow, that's pretty fancy.
And so that's gone through different iterations. I've got a bigger one here. It's kind of clunkier looking. And then the original, was one where I used some U-channel and just made the ends for it. So I'm trying to combine the CNC stuff with the 3D print stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can work together pretty good.
Yeah, I
You
was
know,
trying to come up with a project a few weeks back, and I still haven't come up with one that needs both a 3D printer and a CNC machine, but cannot be made by only one.
actually, I have an idea for that. I haven't yet to do it. How about inlay, plastic inlay?
Hmm,
Hmm.
that could work.
Yeah.
You can do it with the plastic. You can do any color inlay you want and put it into wood.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's something to think about. Hmm.
I don't know if I've seen anybody do that.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen anybody put it in wood.
But I think you can do some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
All right. So
Neil Shafto, he says, Dave, post your links to your affiliate. I can add them to this once it becomes a video, or once that we end the show here, I'll go back and add those. Otherwise, you can get to any of the affiliate links on any of the videos where I'm doing stuff about 3D printing, whether I'm doing the unboxing or the review videos or whatever. In fact, I think that latest review video is where you'll find probably most of the links, affiliate links. Like I said before, I appreciate you guys using those. And I mentioned this, I think last week. I think I did, but if not, I'll mention it anyway. The CR10 I purchased from banggood.com. They always have some great deals, and a lot of times they're having sales and coupon codes and that kind of stuff. But I did purchase that one. The Ender 3 was sent to me for for review videos and things like that by gearbest.com. So I kind of dealt with both the Banggood and the GearBest, and the folks at Banggood, which, like I said, I bought the CR10 from them. They have contacted me, and I don't know what, if anything, they're going to send me, but they're talking about wanting to send me something for more review videos, whether it be upgrade parts or whatever. So you can look for that in the future. One more thing I want to mention real quick. I always usually get somebody ask me about the Go CNC. I'll give you a quick update on that. I posted a little short video on Facebook, on my page, I think, or my timeline, or whatever you call it. I've got that thing really humming with Mach 3. And of course, I don't have a spindle yet. They're supposed to be sending me the water-cooled spindle. And as soon as they get that, I'm going to be ready to rock and roll with that thing. So you can look for some more videos on that coming up. Do we have any other questions? Oh, Grant Clark wants to know, Ron, do you use Fusion 360?
I already answered it in the chat.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm behind.
Just so you know, if anybody wants to contact me, I have a Facebook page. That's Gizmo's Workshop that they can visit.
I'll make sure I add that to the show description after we get off here too, Ron. So
I could always use a few more contacts on that, but unfortunately, I've gotten too lazy and I have not done videos for YouTube. But
well, I tell you, Ron, the YouTube videos, I don't know if people, it takes, I don't know about everybody else, but when I shoot a YouTube video, it takes me about 3 or 4 times as long to do something. And if I was just doing it without setting up the camera.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
It just takes so much longer. So sometimes you get ready to do a project and you go, I'm not even pulling the camera out. I'm just going to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like Jeff Connor got his problem solved. He said he found the loose connection in the controller, no more vibration. So
That's good.
that's great news.
I've had my controller open more than once. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've been
I
lucky.
actually replaced.
I haven't even opened mine up and looked in there.
Well, I only opened mine with it was doing a print and it just died right after the print and wouldn't. The screen would light up and would light, but nothing would happen.
You'll never catch me messing with the insides of a machine.
No, never.
as he fiddles with his hot end.
Hey, look, it's all set up. It's all connected. All I got, I'm in the put it back together stage. So.
All right, so now your show's coming up right after mine. Are you going to be printing the kitty cat or something?
No. I'm actually going to be. I'm designing a birdhouse. I'm doing the simplest thing I could possibly get away with.
Well, you can have
Can we 3D print the birdhouse?
It'll be an awful small bird. I've got a 4x4 area.
Well, Dave can do a 12 by 12 by 15 inch birdhouse. So
true. That'll work.
Yeah, I think, believe it or not, there's some birdhouses on Thingiverse too.
Oh, wow, that's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I think of something, I go, I wonder if that's on Thingiverse, and I look, and there'll be like a whole page of them or something.
There's literally millions of things that are on there. Some of them are pretty useless, and others are actually quite nice.
Yeah. But it's there's a lot of cool stuff on there, and like I said, I'm still guilty of printing off some of the crazy stuff, but sometimes I just want to print something just to kind of test the printer.
Well, like I said, the Eiffel Tower one is pretty much a torture test to a.
I've got the STL downloaded for that. I just haven't had a chance to print it yet
this is not the full size, obviously, but you can go all the way up pretty tall with those.
Yeah. Do you remember how long it took to print that one?
I want to say about 14 or 15 hours.
Yeah.
It's very detailed. I mean, I don't know how much you guys can see the girder structure and everything that's in there.
Pretty nice.
They're kind of cool, but it's also tests the ability of your printer to be able to bridge. Have you done a Benchy yet, Dave?
I have not.
You haven't? I have like a whole fleet of Benchies.
I used to get one and print it. I've done the all the this is the test cat that was with the CR10. Then I did the what's the other one?
Oh, that's like my decaptivated cat.
This is
I have the little astronaut guy.
This is the puppy that came. Well, you probably had this one too, Ron. This was with the Ender 3.
Right.
And of course, the reason it's 1/3 wide.
That's a Dalmatian.
That's all the stinking filament they give you with the Ender 3. They really cheated out on that.
Well, for $200 though, it's like.
Yeah, I suppose. But anyway, so I paused it when I saw it about to run out, threw the black on there just so I could finish it. It printed great right out of the.
It's impressive that you were able to switch the filaments and come out so nice. It's. I like the tail.
Yeah, you got the little tip of
the little black tip on the tail. Yeah, I like that.
But all right, guys. Well, I guess we're going to wrap this one.
And yes, up. Jerry, we can print Legos.
We've got. Well, let me give a few shout outs before we get out of here too. We've had Neil Shafto, Jerry Brown, Almore Miller, Dwight. I don't know what Dwight's last name is. Robert Petrie, Grant Clark. Patrick's Workshop is in the house. Steve from Harnell Media. How you doing, Steve? Let's see, Jeff Connor. I guess I'm running. Yeah, Andrew Hagg's in the house. How you doing, Andrew? Okay, I guess that's it. Thanks again, Ron. Man, like I said, it's always good to have you on here. I'm still really jealous of your enclosure back there. I'm going to have to.
I have a feeling you could build one.
I'm gonna have to step up my game. Looks like.
If you want to get into ABS, it's about the only way you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Is to put it in some sort of enclosure. Now I'm in my basement. It is actually, wow, it's only 69 degrees down here. So it can, especially in the winter, it can get quite chilly down here, and I have to have something that keeps the temperature up. Actually, it's 81 degrees inside that enclosure.
Now, is that, I don't know if you might have mentioned it. Is that like 1/8 Lexan, or how thick is that material?
It's 1/8 inch.
1/8 inch. Okay.
Yeah.
I can see one of those in my future here.
I just bought the plastic that I needed. Like I said, I've been buying a lot of plastic lately for my other CNC projects, and so it was no brainer to throw this on there and get on V-carve and design the doors, the cutouts, and everything. Something you would really be tough to do by hand.
Right. Yeah.
To get it to look decent.
Yeah. Well,
and
I love you engraved that Creality CR10 on there. That's why I thought maybe you bought it somewhere.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I could have gave it a name, but. But I said, I'll just, since I had to cut out the doors anyway, I figured I'll just do a little engraving on it. And
yeah, that really makes it look very professional. Very well done. All right.
It is huge. It's huge, though.
Yeah, I forgot
it takes a lot of room.
Mention Becca, Dale Ludlam in the house, John Smith. Thank you all. I appreciate you guys tuning in every Saturday. Especially I'm excited for the guys that I know have got into 3D printing. I hope you have even half as much fun as I do. Just remember, to me it's fun because it's something I don't know, and it's fun to learn something new. I don't really get frustrated. Like the other day, I posted that picture on Facebook, and I was doing a vase. I don't even have what's left of it. It printed about, I was trying to make a vase about 7 inches, a spiral vase.
Yeah.
It's going to be about 7 inches tall, and I was doing it on the Ender. And I was printing something else on the CR10. Well, the CR10 ran all night and finished. It was perfect, no problems. But the one on the Ender 3, once it got to a certain height, I don't know whether when it was zipping across, it hooked the part of the vase or whatever, but it popped it loose from the bed, and I had a bunch of spaghetti that next morning. But it's just cheap plastic, so you just throw it away and start over. It's not a big deal to me, but it's a lot of fun.
When you first start, that roll of plastic lasts a lot longer than you expected it to.
Oh yeah.
But the more you get into it, the faster that roll goes away.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how quick you accumulate it too, because I've got 9 rolls over here already, and I've only had these a month.
That's fantastic.
I don't know how many, but I probably have about 20 or 25.
Yeah.
I haven't counted. It's kind of like adding up your receipts. You just don't do it because it's going to depress you.
But all right, well, let's get out of here, guys. Javi, get his show going. Thank you again, Ron.
Thank you, Dave, for having me.
Coming on. We'll have you back on again here, in a little bit, and talk about this some more, because 3D printing seems to be getting more and more popular all the time.
Well, we're getting the woodworkers now into the act.
Yeah. And the CNC guys and all.
CNC. And really the CNC and 3D printers
CNC.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's just a different version of it, just like laser or any of the other type, CNC type things. It's all offshoot from the same parent.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you all, I guess. Let's see, what's next Saturday? Yeah, Saturday's the 30th. Maybe try to do maybe a show and tell or something. Somebody asked me the other day when I was going to do another show and tell. So if you got some of your cool projects you want to email me some pictures, and we'll do another show and tell or something next week. Also, I mentioned on Facebook that I would probably do another video towards the end of June and highlight some more of the Gatton CNCs. And then I also said I would do one for, I didn't want to leave the GarageWorks CNC guys out. And nobody sent me anything. I've got one, I think Bubba Hogue is the only one that sent me something for GarageWorks, and nobody sent me any more pictures for the Gatton. So if you don't want to show off your machines, that's okay. But I'd be happy to do a video and highlight some like I did on that video the other week. I had a lot of fun doing that. So anyway, we'll try to do a show and tell thing next week, and I guess that's going to do it. We'll stick around and watch Javi. Y'all hang around and watch Javi's show following this one. You about ready to go, Javi? Just a couple minutes.
Yep, 5-10 minutes. I'll start it up.
Okay. Well, we'll all tune in and watch you then.
Building
Thanks,
a birdhouse.
Thank you, Dave.
All right. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Dave, and
Night.
thanks, Ron.